Greetings and welcome, everybody. It is Dark Sayings. I'm your host, Pete. It is Saturday night. It is Sunday morning. It is time for another midnight mystery session here on the Dark Sayings channel. And I want to thank you all for being here tonight. Hopefully, this is going well. I have a whole thing going on this time. I'm attempting to multi-stream. So if you are seeing this on Instagram, or if by chance you are seeing this on X, this is the debut streams on those platforms. I'm really not sure how it's going. It seems that we're okay here on YouTube. So the core of the show is at least where it's supposed to be. So happy about that. We got some interesting topics for you tonight. I got some fun stuff to talk about. If you saw in some of the description, we're gonna start off with some interesting celestial anomalies. But first, let me say some quick hellos here. I'm gonna double check as I glance over here to my left. I've got monitors all over the place at this point. So, I've got one in front of me so I can see the stream. I got another in front of me so I can see the chat. I got one of my notes. It's a whole to-do, everybody. But yeah, good to see you all. Good to see you all. Let me just double check what's going on here. Don't know what's happening here. Let's see. Okay. All right. So it looks like we are rocking away on Instagram. Good to know. Good to know. Let's check what's going on X. Are we good? Are we good on X? Yeah, we're on X too. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. What do you know, folks? What do you know? I pulled it off. I pulled it off, everybody. I got to say, I'm pretty pleased with myself. Anywho, got some interesting topics tonight. Like I said, we're going to get into a few different things. I want to thank you all for being here, by the way. So I do see there's some super chats coming in. Let me address those real quick. Do appreciate those. I want to say thank you first to Ginger Viking Jesus for $1.49. Looks like he's presenting me with a cheeseburger. Thank you so much, Ginger. Very kind of you. And then Hides in the Long Grass for $2. It's spooky time. Thank you, Hides in the Long Grass. Let's see, Justin Christopher hanging out. Tina Tomazuski, our longtime moderator, foundational member of the community. Thank you for being here, Tina. Joel Phelan here, Lesser Logic. What is going on? Maurice Spann, how you been? Jake Carr. Who else is hanging out? I saw Los Brooklyn in here. Good to see you, Los. Been a minute. So yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in. It's good to see you all. I'll check back on the chat in a minute, but I do want to address last week's stream. I did overreach a bit. I wanted to do a 2-hour stream, and I got a little sleepy towards the end, so I apologize. I do work a lot of long hours these days, and it has been quite difficult with this sleep disorder I developed. But that's no excuse. I really should have ended it much earlier. I was just so excited to be back at it. It's been such a long time since I really got a chance to produce content, especially live content and hang out with the community. I have been working on several other projects for release over the next 2 weeks. Finally found some time and got ahead a bit. So I have a very, very interesting topic. It's so obscure coming up. I've only found one other video on YouTube about it, and it's many years old. So in addition to that, I've only found one article on the subject in all of the blogs and forums that I checked around for. Very obscure topic, very interesting repercussions for the future as well. So stay tuned to the channel for that. I don't want to give away too many hints because I don't want nobody to scoop me on this one. And I don't think that's really going to be an issue. It's very obscure. We got another super chat coming in from Maurice Spann Gaming. Thank you, Maurice, for $49.99. Very generous of you, Maurice. Thank you so very much. You humble me. You humble me, and I thank you very much. Ginger Viking Jesus coming back in on here with a $5 super chat. And again, Maurice, that's super generous, man. Thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, man. I do appreciate everybody. I just had an issue. Ginger, I'm sorry. Hot Diggity Dog. We are worldwide. Antediluvian. Well, we're already worldwide, Ginger. We're on YouTube. It's all over the planet, We're just a little more worldwide now. So had an issue with my car a few weeks ago. My wife and I met. She was driving an old 06 Civic, which wasn't so old back then. And, we tried to get the most out of it. It made it almost 20 years, hit the 19-year mark, and finally went off to its great reward. The issue was that the repairs were like half the value of the car at this point. So I had to bite the bullet. It was time to look for a new car. So the last 2 weeks, we were down to one vehicle. And it was a little challenging with the kids being off of school and our work schedules, but we made it work. We made it work, and everybody was really flexible about it. So I'm thankful to everybody who, was very understanding during that time. But I finally got a new car today, and I got to say I'm pretty excited about it. It was an online purchase, and amazingly enough, they drive it right up to your house on a big old flatbed, dump it right off there. Beautiful experience. So I got to say that was great. But I got a 2017 Jeep Wrangler 4-door hardtop. It's a Wrangler Unlimited 2017. Beautiful, I got to say. I have always kind of had a little thing for Jeeps, and originally when I was looking around, I was kind of feeling that middle-aged stuff, kind of wanted a sports car, but yeah, happy about the Jeep. It's beautiful. Maybe I'll post some pictures of it on one of these networks so you guys see me schmoozing in front of it. Anywho, let's get into tonight's do. We've got some really interesting topics to get into. I got a little bit of information going which way in every which way about this stuff tonight. Yeah, looks like my I was politicking too long and my smoke went out. So anyway, let's get into it. All right, we're going to get into first. We're going to talk about some celestial anomalies that have occurred here in 2025. A lot of unexplained sky phenomenon, and what I do, I try to really be as current as I can with this information. So all of this stuff is generally relatable to the last month. And I have been trying to flip up the topics from week to week. I don't want to keep revisiting the same things. If there are new developments, I will revisit, but I really try to keep it fresh and on top of what's really going on. So with that in mind, most of this stuff comes back from the last few weeks. Anyway, there was a July 2025 trend going around of sightings rather of a strange aurora-like light over Alaska, and it was unlinked to solar activity. So that's very strange. It was reported on July 17th of 2025 by a pilot flying over Anchorage at 2 a.m. local time. It was described as pulsating green and with violent hues, and it lasted for about 20 minutes. NOAA data from July 18th shows no geomagnetic storm correlation. An X-post by Skywatch AK gained 8,000 retweets in 12 hours concerning this sighting. And local news speculated it might have been military testing, but they had obtained no confirmation at that time. So strange sights in Alaska. There's something weird going on up there. Celestial lights in the sky. And I got to say, I don't want to sound like an alarmist, and I don't want to sound like I'm blowing smoke at you guys. But the last few nights, I've kind of been outside, partaking of a cigarette in the side yard. And I kept hearing these, booms in the sky. And they look, I'll be honest, we have had some storm activity. So, I kind of just dismissed it as thunder. But, they didn't sound like thunder. And I'm used to the sound of like trucks on the highway and their trailers bopping around. So it was unusual to say the least. And I don't want to just automatically default to sky booms, but I can see how unnerving such a phenomenon would be for those experiencing it, because I did consider that what I was hearing might be that. Regardless, I didn't see any reports around the local area, so it was probably just a localized phenomenon in the neighborhood. Who knows what it might have been? Could have been a truck dropping a dumpster for all I know, but it was very unsettling. And I think that the phenomenon of sky booms would be unsettling to anybody experiencing it. And who knows what that might be? Could it be a natural phenomenon? Could it be something else? I don't know. But interesting stuff. Personally, I've always kind of wanted to see sky phenomenon of the natural variety. If I had the opportunity, one of my lifelong goals would be to see the Aurora Borealis. And I mean real north Aurora Borealis. I know occasionally sometimes it makes it down in the more northern states due to various solar activity. But, I'd love to see the auroras. There's not many places in the world that really fascinate me or phenomenon of the natural variety that I find captivating like the Aurora Borealis. So, beautiful stuff. And who knows what they saw in Alaska back on the 17th. This plays right into what's going on. Generally, there's been a 15% rise in UFO sightings since June. And I think we did touch on this a little bit last week, but it's being tracked by the the UFO Watch Initiative. And since June 1st, there have been over 200 reports, most of them in rural areas, predominantly Montana and Idaho. One video did show a triangular object, later debated as a drone. So this project uses a mobile app, downloaded over 5,000 times in July, and 40% of reports lack photographic evidence or any kind of web update. So a little bit out there. We don't really know for sure, but that is generally the nature of these kind of topics. Pardon me. We never really know for sure. And you know what? This kind of ties into something historical, in fact, and something I've long been fascinated with personally. So many of you are probably familiar with the great airship flap of the 19th century. And we can kind of reinterpret this in 2025, specifically with my home state now, New Jersey, and the drone sightings that occurred just a few months back. Plethoras of drone sightings all over the place. You know, I had coworkers telling me they saw them. I know that I did see a large drone outside of my workplace, but that was not unusual because I had previously seen two gentlemen operating a very large drone in the industrial park around my workplace. And I mean, it was unusual how large the drone was, but this was long before those sightings occurred. And, you know, I don't think there was any correlation between the two. I was really under the assumption that it was either for business purposes or they were hobbyists. They didn't seem to be any kind of officials in any way, shape, or form. So I really leaned towards hobbyists or some business reason for it. I don't know if maybe they were doing some kind of promotional video as like realtors. Maybe they were land managers. I don't know. So, so there could be some kind of correlation between the great airship flap and the drone sightings. See, between 1896 and 1897 across the U.S., there were just these dozens and dozens of sightings of airships. And you gotta take into account, this is before the Wright brothers. This is before flight. So like we must assume, now obviously there are hot air balloons at this point. But people know what those are, and that's not what they're describing when they're talking about these airships. And this airship kind of stuff reached such a crescendo that they people accused Edison of being responsible for it. There was a real belief in the public that some science genius had invented a new device of some kind and was secretly testing it across the country. And that's when Edison was speculated to be the culprit. So that was a big factor with it. And like I said, it was really a matter of like, was this aviation experiments going on pre-flight? And that is a possibility. But let's keep in mind that during 2025, and we're only about halfway, a little bit more than halfway through the year now, there was over 30% rise in drone sightings. You know, we heard about the speculation regarding them being deployed off of ships off the coast, and you know, of course, the extraterrestrial hypotheses that were going around them. Were they our technology? Were they our enemies' technology? So these kind of things were going back and forth, obviously. But, you know, history is, you know, it's very cyclical. So, you know, we kind of see these, and I would say in many ways, what we've experienced culturally over the last 10 years in regard to people's like ability to like not feel shame, but totally feel offended, very much to me parallels a lot of the satanic panic of the 80s. And I think the drone sightings similarly in New Jersey over the last few months also parallel the airship flap of the 19th century. So the theories really do suggest that these airships were some kind of unidentified technology, you know, and the debate still rages on. You know, the debate still rages on. People still, you know, speculate and ponder and theory craft regarding all these different sightings and subjects. I know one of my more personal favorites of the videos I've made over the years. And for those of you who might be newer to the channel or just meeting me now, I've been doing this for about 10 years, and you might wonder why there's so few videos on the channel if I've been doing it for 10 years. And like the subscriber count's a little high for somebody with 6 videos. But yeah, here's the deal. So I used to do this channel under a different name. And about a year ago, I did a soft rebrand. And I decided a few months back, about 2 months ago, to remove, they're not gone, they're private, they're unlisted in many cases. Many of the videos all of the videos I created prior to the hard rebrand I decided on a few months ago. So I've unlisted all the old videos, hundreds of old videos on many subjects. But the thing is, I always strove to do evergreen videos that really weren't affected by the passage of time. And while that is very idealistic and a great goal, sometimes these stories, as old as they are, evolve. And with that in mind, I think it's okay that I've taken some of them down. I have been toying with the idea, and I'll tell you this, I've been working on this for a while because I've been going back and forth on it, of creating an archives playlist to bridge the gap between what this channel was and what it's going to become. And I selected very choice few videos. I have filmed new updated bumpers for those videos and outros to kind of close the gap on what new information has evolved around those stories. They might be a little dated in the sense of video resolution. I used to use an old camcorder. Well, I guess by today's standards it's old, but when I first started the channel, I plunked down a lot of money on a new camcorder. Nice. It was great at the time, but over the years things have changed. Now I use like a webcam. Sometimes I use my phone. But yeah, I'm thinking about doing an archives playlist. So stay tuned for that. I think that might actually work out pretty well. So yeah. So as we move along, let's see. There's a skeptical view regarding this whole celestial sightings, the drone stuff, the Alaska stuff. And the skeptic will tell you that this is all atmospheric effects, misidentified satellites, meteorology. They're going to give you a plethora of reasons why this is not, anything you might conjure up. Auroras are explained by nitrogen emissions, of course, and they could be satellite flares from Starlink launches that mimic UFOs. 75% of all 2025 sky phenomenon has been traced to natural causes. But there have been hoaxes. Obviously, there are hoaxes. I'm sure we've seen plenty of them. I know there's a channel out there with a couple brothers. They've been around a long time. I'm not going to say anything, but, every night I'm sitting up around 2, 3 a.m. and I get a YouTube notification. There's another UFO video, and by golly, they look Hollywood produced, so there's a lot of edited videos, so let's even assume, let's say for the sake of argument that 75% of these strange sightings in the sky are atmospheric phenomenon that can be dismissed by natural causes. And let's say another 5% are totally bogus. They're just hoaxes, cooked up whole cloth. That still leaves a sizable amount of questionable data. If we're talking about 80% of these sightings being explainable, either through natural phenomenon or human trickery, and it still leaves us with 20% of sightings with no explanation. And let's even go further and say that, let's say of that 20%, let's be generous as well. Let's say half of that 20% can be explained as secret technology that's either in the private sector, owned by, maybe one of these, one of these multinational weapons manufacturers, or even our own governments. Very possible they could have advanced technology that we're not privy to. And there's good reasons for that in many cases. But that still leaves, 10%. What is that? What's going on in the skies? My opinion over the years has very much changed regarding the UFO topic. I know there's lights in the sky. Obviously, we've all seen them. The issues I find are the evolution of the whole topic. And I often say this about the Bigfoot stuff. I love the Bigfoot stuff. I think Bigfoot's a really fascinating possibility. My opinion of him has changed over the years, but a very fascinating possibility. I think the thing is with Bigfoot, if you go back to some of the work of the late Lloyd Pye and, consider some of the stuff that he was really digging up about Bigfoot, many years ago, it is in stark contrast to what you see regarding claims about Bigfoot today. The goalposts on Bigfoot keep moving. Okay. Bigfoot, when I was a child, was regarded as an animal, maybe a missing link between man and ape. And now we get into the area where it's like, you have mediums that are channeling Bigfoots, as I experienced for the first time on an episode of the Unbelievers podcast. Very funny stuff. I believe the episode is called Channeling Bigfoot. Ridiculous nonsense. And then, you get these ideas where Bigfoot is like a spiritual entity, a guardian spirit of the forest. He creates portals and travels between dimensions. Like, we really are moving the goalposts on Bigfoot a lot. However, in contrast, the lights in the sky are a little different, because if they are technology, then obviously they're going to change over time. But I think the drastic change in their description over the course of the UFO phenomenon from 1947, the Mount Rainier sighting, up until today, is that you have the era of the contactees, okay? So think of people like Truman Bethram, George Adamski, these guys who were foundational in the UFO phenomenon. Billy Myers and his photographs. Think of a Billy Myers photograph, okay? These they look like somebody threw a hubcap in the air and took a picture of it before it fell. Weird thing is that Billy Myers would, he only had one arm, so he obviously couldn't have been throwing a hubcap in the air and grabbing the camera fast enough to take a picture before it fell. And even some of the, like, the Gulf Breeze 6 photos, I don't want to get into the Gulf Breeze 6, but the flap around the Gulf Breeze sightings in the early 90s. Those photographs are insane as well, but these are definitively, mechanical. When we think of the contactee era of the 50s and 60s and the Space Brothers and people's real positive interactions with these beings, it's in stark contrast to what we get to by the time Whitley Strieber's publishing Communion and Travis Walton's been abducted by aliens, while he's out logging. So the narrative has changed over time from benevolent Space Brothers who had warnings about disarming our nuclear weapons to sinister, invasive, parasitic beings that snatch you out of your bed at night and, stick probes up your nose. Mm-hmm. And that is a source of confusion that I have regarding the whole phenomenon about the lights in the sky. I'm also old-fashioned. I do not like the term UAP. I don't. It's UFO. And I think in any attempt to rebrand it is another attempt to control language. When you alter the meaning, you alter its nature. And I've always said this for the years I've been doing this. I'm not a nuts and bolts guy when it comes to this UFO stuff. I never have been. I am interested in the stories. I am interested in the tapestry of lore that surrounds this modern mythology. I do not care about Senate hearings that don't move the needle. I do not care about whistleblowers that don't have to flee the country. I am very suspicious of former officials who make careers in the UFO business. And there are some very, very, very prominent ones. And you will see them in power, circles of power. And a lot of times they don't deliver the goods. The needle doesn't move. It's like, welcome to McDonald's. We're serving up nothing burgers again. That's the issue that I have with most of ufology. And that's why I'm not a nuts and bolts guy. I don't really care about the little details. I don't care about the government lies. Why would you believe for a fraction of a second that the same government who's been lying about this phenomenon since the Roswell crash is going to be the government that's going to tell you the truth about Ashtar and the Galactic Command? Because it's not coming, bro. It's not. I'm not down with it. I just don't care. And like, I'm glad there are people that do. But there is credit to be given for those out there who have forced disclosure, I'm thinking of the Black Vault right away. Those people out there who have obtained the Freedom of Information Act requests and have unveiled some of the secrets kept from us. So I think that there is value in it. But as for me, I don't treat it like the NFL draft. I don't really care about it all that much. I do care about the lore. I care about the stories. And because of that, I think that, that's why I'm so passionate. But obviously, like I said, doing this for as long as I have now, and I've only been doing this, I would say, I use this term loosely, semi-professionally, for about a decade. But I've been obsessed with this nonsense since I could read. I always bring up the fact that my mother frequently took me to the local library as a child. And I don't know if it was early episodes of In Search of rerunning in the early 80s that got me first, or if it was the books about UFOs that did. But once you accept that they're lying to you about something so significant, it's hard to believe anything. And if you've lived through the past 5 years and you still have illusions about the fact that anything is true, I think you're probably not paying well enough attention. So like I said, yeah, my beliefs on all this have evolved. I find it questionable that, in the 50s and 60s, we were dealing with solid metal craft, that have occupants in uniforms. And think of the, Betty and Barney Hill. That was a craft. That was a vehicle. Think of Indris Cold and his, lantern-shaped vehicle on the road with, what was his name? Durbin-Meyer? Durbin-Meyer. I think Durbin-Meyer was the contactee in that instance. So they went from being those to, look at the footage over Mexico City of 1 million lights in the sky swarming around, or of orbs breaking into 3 parts and coming back together. I don't think that these phenomena are the same thing, but I do think that they're easily to be conflated together. I don't really, I digress. I know I'm going on a little tangent here, but I don't rule out atmospheric beasts either. There could be life forms that we don't really understand that live in the upper atmosphere. Star jelly, anybody, what is that? Where's that coming from? I think it could have a connection to these things. And shout out to my man, Russ Ryan, the rods, what was his name? Escamilla. Yeah. He was the rod guy. The flying rods. So, something along those lines. I think that, atmospheric beast might be something along those lines. Anywho, I'm chewing up lots of time here. I'm just chewing up lots of time here on our first subject. But yeah, look, overall, there's a lot of radar evidence to support the skeptical conclusions. So here, I'm going to put up a poll because this is going pretty good next week. And this is where we wrap up this first topic. And look, I've got a handful of them. We might not make it through all of them, but I'd rather have more than I need than less to get through the hour. So we're going to put up our first poll of the night. I'm going to ask you guys what you think regarding the lights in the sky. Okay. So just give me a moment to post the poll. I do like to put these up and give you a few minutes to answer here. We're going to post it up. Okay, here we go. Oh my God, I can't type anything. I'm hitting all the wrong keys. All right. I'm sorry. I just realized I was being quiet while I was thinking there. All right. Polls up. There we go. Polls up. There we go. Let me address the super chats I didn't get to. Look, I appreciate you guys being patient. Thank you very much. I didn't want to keep interrupting the train of thought with the super chats. And while I appreciate them, I'm just going to hit them sporadically through the stream. But don't hesitate. I'm not going to shake a stick at it. I'm grateful. And I got a new car payment. I just don't want you to think I'm ignoring you or the chat. We will get into the chat in a bit. I'll dabble in it now before we move on to the next subject. And obviously, we're going to address the poll in a minute. So, go ahead and vote in that poll. And while you're doing that, I'm going to check the chat. Let's see what's going on with these super chats. It's Frederick John, who says, go outside. I like it. I like it. I like that screen name there. It's pretty good. Frederick John, go outside. Uh, and Frederick John says, good to see you back at it, Pete. Best wishes and God bless. Well, amen to that, Frederick John. Thank you for the blessing. I really do appreciate it. I am a man of faith. And I think that, as time has passed, it's become really it's really the most important thing in my life now. I think, my attempt to serve the divine. I'm not a Christian in the sense that Americans use that word. I am a Roman Catholic. I was raised in the parochial school system, and I think that also might have something to do with why I like this weird stuff. I'm not gonna lie. Catholicism is a bit weird. The statues, the beads, the bells, the incense, the robes, the chanting, but I think there's something ancient about it that connects it to its origins in a way that you do not find in other denominations. I personally don't believe in any other denomination. I think that if you are a person of faith and you commit to a faith and you espouse a faith, there is no room for ecumenicism. I do not think there are many paths to God. I do not think there are many roads to God. I think there is one way and one way alone. Nothing will waver me in that. I don't care who it offends because others of other faiths do not care what I think either. So I'm not going to walk on eggshells about what I believe. I am one of those guys who thinks the Inquisition was necessary and the Crusades were fucking awesome. So a lot of the negativity around these eras in history were pushed by people with agendas in the 70s to paint a picture that was negative of these events. Largely in that part of the world where they occurred, they had been ignored or forgotten historically by those people until, again, it was made an issue in the West. And even then, it's only used as a religious cudgel between people arguing religion. But I'm not here there to nudge or debate religion here either. I'm not trying to nudge you guys in any direction, or debate. I'm just saying that's how I view myself. I think that material things don't really matter so much. And I know it's easy to say when somebody bought a new car, but I mean, look, it was a necessary thing. I wasn't out treating myself. I haven't bought a new car in 20 years. So, I can say, look, I'm not somebody who's really in for material things, but I'm human. Sometimes I want a new pair of pants. Sometimes I think a hat looks snappy, but for the most part, I don't really covet a lot of material things in this world. I'm not somebody who prays at night for prosperity. And I think that's kind of a sad aspect of the prosperity gospel stuff. I don't want my pockets full. I don't look at blessings as a bank account statement, I think most fervently, the things I pray for are mercy and grace. That's it. I figure God knows everything else and takes care of the rest. I can sit around and be like, please protect my children day and night as they strive out there in this world. But he already knows. He already knows. And again, I think that when it comes down to it, for me, I ask myself this fundamental question. Does your church have an altar or a stage? And that's what it comes down to for me. But thank you. I just wanted to remark on that blessing part. So if it pissed you off, well, that's kind of what I do here too. I don't strive for it, but I don't care if you get angry. I never really was that kind of guy. I used to be the kind of guy that was got my kicks out of getting people a little riled up. Those days are long behind me. Again, enough with the diatribe. Let's check the poll. Let's see what's going on with that, right? I also want to take a minute just to pop into the other platforms and see how that's going. I don't know how that's rocking. I don't know what the bugosphere is. I'm not sure. But that's comment over on Instagram from the Real Dockery. I got to look that up. I don't know if that's some kind of condemnation of the work we do here or a comment on this type of content or what. I'm oblivious to that. So you got me on that one. Also, let's check out anything going on here on X. It looks like we're still rocking on X. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Now, I can only see the comments predominantly on YouTube here. I have no idea how these comments on X work. I don't know if they are just replies like a regular post or not. This is the first time I'm doing this on multi-streams. Anyway, next topic. After the poll results, of course. Okay, let's see what you all had to say. So, according to the votes, the lights in the sky, the options were natural phenomenon, alien origin, or man-made. And it looks like with 46% of the vote, the winner is aliens, followed by man-made, and in the pocket there we got natural phenomenon. So it looks like we got a lot of true believers out there. A lot of true believers. And look, I'm not saying I don't disbelieve at this point. I'm not saying I do. I'm just saying I don't think we fully understand the intricacies of like all these different factors that are involved in that. You know, like I said, you know, in the 60s, they're metal. In the 80s, they're intruders. You know, sometimes they're lights in the sky. Sometimes they're clearly craft. Could they be atmospheric beasts? Could there be organisms up there? I do not know. But I think that there are a lot of questions to ask, like, you know, in that regard. So thank you for the poll results. There we go. Let's wrap it up here. We're going to end it now and get back into the next topic. I think we're doing pretty good on time, honestly. If we're just going to cover a few things, but maybe I'll speed it up a bit. Okay. If you know, by the way, if you have any comments in there, and I will dip into the chat towards the end here. I want you to save a lot of your comments for the last segment where we'll really get into it and hash it up. Keep in mind, if you have seen strange lights, and Ginger, I know every time you see a friggin' helicopter with a wonky bulb in it, you send me a message. But I mean, yes, Ginger sees a lot of weird stuff. Tina too. Tina sees a lot of weird stuff. But again, there's a lot of rocket launches down where Tina lives, and you know, Ginger might have a little pink elephant syndrome going on, so like I don't know if he's the most reliable witness. But yeah, you know, I appreciate it, Ginger. I jest. So yeah, but yeah, let me know if you've ever seen a weird light in the sky. Not something that can easily be explained away. You know, something that was really some high strangeness stuff. All right, next topic are forgotten rituals. There's a resurgence of ceremonies going on here in 2025 regarding the web trends that have to contend with druidic rituals, specifically in the United Kingdom. Local groups have sprung up all over the place. People are, you know, practicing druidism. And I've got some critiques on that, but we'll get into it in a minute. Back on July 16th, the British Druid Order in Stonehenge reported that they had over 200 participants involved in a midnight chant of some kind. They posted a web video of it too. It's likely linked to the summer solstice, July 15th. There was a post on X from Druid UK with about 12,000 likes with photos from this ritual. The local council in the area did issue a permit, so everything was on the up and up about this, because I guess you got to get a permit to go do your druid rituals now. What kind of world do we live in when you can't just put on your robes and wander into the woods to do your weird shit? Now you got to get a permit, you know? And in that same vein, there's been a 20% increase in occult book sales here in 2025. And this is tied to a lot of online workshops. You know, a lot of people do tarot now, and you see crystal work and these kind of things are going on. There's spirituality, I think, is cyclical as well. You know, I think we mentioned this in the last stream regarding the spiritualism post-Civil War, and then the resurgence of like occultism, you know, predominantly in the 40s. Then you get into like psychonaut, like stuff going on with entheogens in like the 60s, and then, you know, satanic panic of the 80s. So like there's always been kind of a spiritualism that like vein running through society that's counter to most of the modern religions, and they pop up and get a resurgence in the popular culture from time to time. But tracking Amazon data, over 50,000 units of occult books have sold since January. That's a pretty predominant number. Workshops hosted on various platforms by people like Occult Learn usually have about 300 attendees per stream, and that's not bad, you know. Top sellers this year have included Ancient Rites Revised, which was released just a month ago. 60% of buyers of these books are under 35 years old, and there has been a 70% interest in people learning how to do these rituals. Now, there's also, again, historical context for this kind of stuff. Solstice rites, And this is, echoed obviously in these forest gatherings. Now, a lot of this is dated to like British folklore from about 1000 AD per history blog about a month ago. There have been gatherings in Sherwood Forest as early this year as July 18th, with bonfires and chants attended by over 150 people, linked to the pagan revival movement that's been going on since the 1990s and ever growing. Media coverage has boosted attendance for these things by 25%. Now, but here's the thing in my contention. These modern interpretations of these ancient Druidic rites lack any kind of historical accuracy. Their deviations from any kind of rites and rituals might have been conducted by these people like 1,000 years ago. There's no connection at all. Modern rituals have all kinds of things that didn't even exist during the medieval times, much less the ancient world. And for this reason, 40% of the people who are practicing these kind of rituals admit they are improvising to account for the fact that, they didn't necessarily have light bulbs when this kind of stuff was going on. And a scholar of any kind of these topics would question the authenticity because of the lack of records. There is a lack of records. So, if you're buying your, Wicca 101 kit off of Amazon and they're shipping you a pentagram necklace and some crystals and, a few candles and a smudge stick and a how-to book, you can really, assume you're just buying a bill of goods. Like, people don't know this. That's my thing with Wicca and a lot of modern, like, paganism. Unless you're really following what little fragments of like ancient stuff exists, you're just making things up. You're just making things up. Like, there's no historical context for how this stuff goes. Remember, Wicca starts in like the 1950s. You can trace it to a dude. His name was Gardner, and with that in mind, assume that like any of these records that were true witchcraft. Okay, let's say you made it through the burning times, and with that, you might have squirreled away a grimoire or a book of spells or two. Now, maybe those survive through time and space and are translated and utilized for the next generation after generation. But it's very likely that if you were practicing some kind of alternative religion at the time, and I'm not just going to blatantly say this witchcraft and dark magic, who knows what these people were into. You could raise local ire and people would look at you sideways and they might very well act on it. People are very crazy and they respond to things crazy like. So, Salem, anybody? Salem, Massachusetts? Corey Giles? Uh-oh. Something went down. We got to refresh. We got to reload. All right, we're back in business. Sometimes that window crashes on me when I do this. So yeah, that's my thing with a lot of the pagan stuff. Look, look, one of my best memories ever, even before I started doing YouTube, way before. And the genesis of all this to begin with, I had this friend Greg. We had met through a job, like-minded soul, really astute guy, well-read, a real free thinker. You know what I mean? And we stayed in touch after we left the job. He wound up moving across the country for a few years. And, we started talking while he was still out there about maybe doing something together in the vein of like a podcast or something creative. And we really wanted to do it in person. And at that time, I think, streaming existed, but it wasn't as big as it had become. So, we did a lot of talking. We did a lot of researching for about a year because he was planning to move back to the East Coast. And I'll tell you what, the other day I was, just cleaning up some stuff and I found a box containing some of these notepads from that time. And when I tell you, I would sit around and just fill legal pads from front to back page with note after note about alchemists, from Mary the Jewess all the way up to like Zosimus of Panopolis to like the governor of Massachusetts colony of in Pilgrim times. There were all kinds of alchemists. Johannes Kelpius, who came to Philadelphia, the monks of Fairmount Park. They were a cloistered group waiting for the apocalypse in like 1683. So people have believed a lot of crazy stuff over the years, but and look, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, all religion is made up. And it probably has been since the first, caveman put a bear skull on a rock and paid tribute to it because they ate it. Who knows how this stuff really developed out of the burgeoning human mind, the burgeoning Homo sapien mind as it crawled out of the muck and the ooze of primordial times to develop the minds and the aptitude we have over the centuries. So who knows the origin of this stuff truly? Sometimes I like to lean on the Prisca Theologia. It does go against my personal faith in every regard. It would be considered a heresy. But I find it an interesting concept from the Renaissance. Like I said, I love Renaissance. It's like how I'm going to start saying Sasquatch. So yeah, during the Renaissance, I don't know if it was Paracelsus. I can't remember precisely. But the idea of the Prisca Theologia, and this is like ecumenicism anyway, is that in all faiths, in all belief systems, in all religions, there runs a thread of truth. And then if you take these threads and trace them backwards, eventually they start to merge into one thread. And this single thread, stretching far back into the ancient times, would take you closest to the truest and most pure form of religion. Now, when I first encountered this thought, I'll not lie, there was a time in my life that I was very atheistic. I was very antagonistic towards faith. I felt myself too smart for it. I felt I had encountered like that dark night of the soul where like you don't feel it anymore, and then you question it, and then some of that turns into resentment, but it is a fool who says in his heart there is no God. And I think if anything that changed my attitude on that was definitely the birth of my son, my first kid. So the fact of the matter is you'll be called, and you can choose not to answer, or you can choose to step up and answer the call, but you will be called. And many choose to ignore it. They try to explain it away. They look for neurological reasons or mental health issues to explain away the way they feel. And I think a lot of people, the world becomes so secular that we don't even feel comfortable talking about what we believe, while, people of other cultures and other faiths have no compunction about it. None at all. They'll come out en masse and like, they don't care. They don't care what you think. They intend to convert you or conquer you, and that's usually been the way of history through most of humankind. The way we live is an aberration in history, this peace and prosperity stuff. And I know that times are tough now, but I mean, you got to figure even the poor of us lives better than a medieval king did. I mean, Christ, they couldn't even flush a toilet back then. So they didn't have light bulbs either. So again, back with the light bulbs and toilets, so, I mean, we got to count our blessings where we can. Anyway, regarding these rituals, have you ever joined in a ritual of any kind? I'd love to know if any of you ever have. I know there's many different kinds. I know as a Catholic, I've been through a few different ones. As a boy, you do the Holy Communion, and then like you get a little older, you do that confirmation. So there's several rituals there. Of course, the baptism, that's one that a lot of most Christians have in common. The baptism, of course. So rituals that we've all participated in, if you practice that faith, or some version thereof of it. And and I think all cultures have these kind of rituals. All faiths have these rituals. But have you ever been in something weird? Ever found yourself in a basement with some candles and mirrors, like weird stuff? Like, let me know. Yeah. So yeah, let's see. So my question, the question I'll put up here before we move on to the next topic, because I'm going to throw up another poll and I want to keep us rolling. Time on the clock says we have 10 more minutes. I'm willing to go until I start to doze. The first time I get confused and start to slip, I'm going to wrap it up. Now, I hope it doesn't come to that. I still feel pretty refreshed. I had a busy day, but it wasn't a long day. I'm not sleeping so great anyway, so I'm gonna keep going for a little bit. I want to try to get through these topics. Let's put up another poll. So occult revival. All right, let's see what you guys think. Let's see what you think. I'm gonna pop up a poll here. Here we go. Let's ask the question. Okay. Okay. All right, I'm sorry I get quiet when I put up these polls. I feel like a dummy. I'm like drooling. I'm like biting my mouth. Look at I'm just on my face over here. Look at me. I'm typing like a creature. I should be on a friggin' church collecting rainwater. Oh, man. All right, so the poll is up. The question is, occult revival, authentic or advertising? Is this just a way to get cash, Is this a way to just, cash in? I think that's the way to do it. It's an opportunity to make a few bucks. The opportunity to make a few bucks. Let's hit the chat up a little bit while we wait to get into the next topic here. This is a pretty good one. I'm pretty excited about this one. Okay, so let's see. Scroll back up. I just want to see anything that might call me out directly. I'm not seeing anything like that at the moment. So let me just make sure. I do see one from Ginger. History is written by the victors. I agree with that wholeheartedly. You really got to question like the origin of some of these stories that we're told. You really got to question some stuff. Like, I mean, how much of history were you taught that just is nonsense? Like, I cannot tell a lie. I did chop down the cherry tree. Like, come on, man. What? Come on. Johnny Appleseed was a real dude. A real dude. You tell me a real dude? Like, it's like, come on. Next you're gonna tell me freaking Paul Bunyan was there. Him, Johnny Appleseed, Paul Bunyan, John Henry. They were on Abraham Lincoln's secret task force. They were out there, chopping it up with the bad guys. I don't know. I'm thinking Charlie's Angels with like American folklore heroes. I guess it's hard for Paul Bunyan to be incognito, being he's 60 feet tall. He got a giant fucking blue ox. Ridiculous. All right, I digress. Let's check out the results of the poll. I'm gonna hit the chat up again too. Ginger says there's something to be said about African tribal magic. And look, I want to point out something that Ginger's doing that I encourage everybody to do. I'm assuming with the chat going by that you are generally talking to each other. Now, if you want to directly talk to me, do what Ginger does and at me just like he is, because they highlight those and I see the orange box and I know you're trying to get my attention. So listen, and I'll always put that out there. You do not have to super chat to get my attention. I appreciate it when you do, but if you want to get my attention for a specific question or a specific comment, please do what Ginger does and at me in the question, because it gives me a little orange box that I can see and I know to address it right away. So thanks for that in mind. And I just thought of that now when I saw Ginger do it. I appreciate that. It really helps. So thank you. So yeah, let's move on to the next right after we wrap up this poll yet again. Let's see what you guys got to say. The occult revival of 2025, according to our voters here, is it authentic or is it advertising? With 83% of the vote, you all believe it is advertising. They're just selling a bill of goods, folks. They're selling you promises. It's become a self-help industry. The occult has become a self-help industry. The great work now costs $24.99 at Barnes & Noble. And you too can learn how to complete your magnum opus in the magical realm. So that's the thing. Ginger Viking Jesus. Alias the Jester. Let's see. I see that one popping at me there. Here we go. Hold on. Am I logged in? Where is it? Oh, yeah, I must be logged in. So there's that. Oh, I'm just way behind. Okay. Holy smokes. Okay, here it is. Alias the Jester. Some neo-pagans do have good intentions and are interested in cultural revival, even if they're misguided. I agree, Alias. I don't, look, I consider myself a Catholic first and an American second. And as an American, I find it a little bit conflicting because the Catholic, you submit to the king of another country, who wears a funny hat and some robes, and he's a pope. But as an American, I believe everybody is free to do what they want as long as you're not hurting nobody. So I'm very conflicted on some of these issues regarding paganism, because like the Crusader knight in my heart wants to purge the countryside of like pagans and the enemies of the cross. And the American enemy is like, I don't care what you do, So I do feel a little conflicted sometimes. Do they have good intentions? Yes, I necessarily think that a lot of people who seek spirituality have good intentions. Generally, of course, there's some weirdos out there that do messed up stuff and use religion as a blanket to cover for their crimes. I will always disagree with that kind of thing. And look, being a Catholic, I'm not going to sit here and defend any of the scandal that occurred in the church over the last 20 years. I think it's reprehensible that these men who are ordained with authority and a duty to shepherd a flock would harm the littlest of their charge. It is disgusting to me. It is millstone stuff, in my opinion. And, I think it's shameful. But at the same time, what I would highlight is that I think the media exploited these scandals to really destroy the image of the church. And of course, the church did a good job of that itself by covering this stuff up. Also, why I'm not a huge fan of John Paul II, even though that dude, he wasn't dead for 4 minutes before they made him a saint. But, at the end of the day, the statistics don't lie. You are like, if you are in a public school system, you're 100 times more likely to be injured by a teacher than by a priest, so it is something to consider. Like, it's horrible that there's just people out there like that who, they seek to do just monstrous things. And, it's a real shame of this world in general. But yeah, authentic advertising. I think that, while yes, you're right, some people do have good intentions. Some people definitely twist this stuff for a lot of evil. Ginger Viking, judge not lest ye be judged. You know what, Ginger, I challenge you to read the rest of that passage. Read the rest of the chapter. You must judge righteously. The Bible tells us to judge over and over again, all the time, with right judgment. Not just judge not lest ye be judged. It's like you can't just judge off superficial things, but you can judge off of actions and character. You can judge off the response to your message, and Jesus says as much. Shake off the dust, he says. If you go into the town they don't accept you, shake their dust off your feet and move on. You're not supposed to beat the people over the head with this. You share the good news. And so, and like the parable says, some seeds will fall on rock and some will fall on fertile soil. Some will grow and some will be choked out by vines. So where is your seed? As you reap, so shall you sow. That's another thing that goes in there. So yes. You're right, Ginger. I understand how you're trying to use that phrase, but I know the rest of the passage, and I suggest you go read it and you'll see why it's absurd to try to fall back on that kind of old tactic. The Rabbit City. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Great Schism in 1028. I think a lot of that has more to do with like political intrigue than actual, theological debate. And theological debate is definitely a part of it, but there's so much politics going around that position of power, especially in those times when, really the only person the kings of Europe answered to was the Pope. So I'd like to see a unified Catholic Church, a Catholic and Byzantine Church unified again. I do not recognize Protestant denominations at all. You do not have the fullness of the faith. Sola Scriptura is crazy because the Bible didn't come along until 391 AD and Christianity started in 33 AD. What the hell were you doing for 300 years. You didn't have a sola scriptura. You didn't have the Bible. All right. You didn't have it. It didn't exist. It wasn't compiled yet. Okay. So I think you're really missing out. I think that American Christianity specifically is it's almost like a cartoon version of Christianity in a lot of ways. And there's a lot of American Christians who do good stuff too. They raise money, they volunteer, they help the less fortunate. That's all well and good. That's what you're called to do. But I think it's very easy to use Catholicism as a scapegoat because it's viewed as weird. It's easy to slur it because you're not really going to get a lot of pushback. But I honestly believe it's the ark. It's the ark. It is the ark, and the storm is a coming, and you don't want to be on a boat. That's what you're telling me. You don't want to be on a boat because you think your boat's better. You think your boat's better. You got 2 oars, and you got a fishing boat, and you're ready for a storm. Well, this is an ark, and I want to be on the ark. And at the end of the day, it's not a museum for saints. It's a hospital for sinners when you walk through those doors. So amen, dude. Amen. Let's end this poll. Okay. Alias the Jester. I am Sapphire Elf. May I have forgiveness. Dude, I don't remember what the fuck you did at this point. I just know that you're batshit and you start problems. So here's what I'm going to do. In the spirit of Christian charity, I'm going to hope that you're better now than you have been in the past. It's been a long time. And I'll give you an opportunity not to do anything fucking nuts. All right. So how about that? Let's keep it breezy, and you and me are fine. Okay. Marshmallow. Hi everyone. I have to rewind. Well, thank you, Marshmallow. Thanks for coming on in. I have to watch this over. Oh, when I had an out-body experience, I learned something, says Marshmallow. You are divine light of the creator itself. Marshmallow, I always wanted to try those float tanks because I think I'd have a divine experience, Who had the float tank in the chat? I can't remember who that was. Like, I know if you told me right away you were a float tank guy. Just the name escapes me now because there's so many of them. Okay. So yeah, let's get back into this next topic because I want to keep it moving. We're already past the hour mark here. Okay. Subterranean legends in 2025, some underground mysteries. A review of a June 2025 discovery of a sealed cave system in Arizona, hinting at ancient use. On June 28th of 2025, spelunkers near Sedona found a cavern containing petroglyphs dated to 500 BC. 500 BC, that's when the Septuagint was written. The sealed entrance suggests an intentional closure. It was closed on purpose. It was a sealed cave. Initial exploration was halted by local authorities on July 1st. There were also discoveries going around on discussions, rather, of what are they called up? The word, excuse me, bunkers, a network of bunkers, underground bunkers in Europe, all over the continent. But there's no verification of that either. I'll tell you, and this shocks me. I got to find a video. I might see if I can get it later. The fact that you have these people like Phil Schneider who claimed that there were the deep underground military bases, and then all these years later, you had that woman who went on Tucker Carlson's show, former Bush era official for the White House, and she was going on and off about these underground military bases and how there was $21 trillion worth of construction to make them, and they're connected by roads underground, and they've long said this kind of stuff. But to see see that story still kind of circulating around after all these years and gaining traction and being recognized as something to really look at, that's probably a good thing. Yeah. So there are some grainy images that were posted on X on July 18th of these purported hidden bunkers. The network spans Germany and Poland, 50 miles long. No government response as of July 19th. It's linked to World War II rumors with about 10,000 different impressions. Satellite imagery resolution is too low for confirmation, so they got to send somebody. In the 18th century, there were tales of lost caverns revived now in 2025. In the 1780s, French folklore existed about underground cities. Also, there's ties to Masonic legends and the Hellfire Club. You also have there was a documentary with I guess 15,000 views, which isn't that crazy, but yeah, it was concerning this topic, and it did okay. I think this is a very interesting thing going on there. So natural caves or Cold War relics. Arizona caves likely have limestone foundations. European bunkers match 1950s NATO designs. So 80% of claims lack structural evidence. Hoaxes include staged cave photos on X, detected 8% of the time. Funding delays hinder the 2025 verification efforts. So what happened? What is the deepest mystery you've ever explored? That's something we're getting into now. What is the deepest mystery you have ever explored? So go ahead and suggest some weird sites you might have been in, places like that. Some technology you might have brought with you. I would love to go do a cave exploration, with everybody. Not the kind where you're crawling around with harnesses on and going through holes in the ground with water under your face and you can only squeeze through like a pretzel. I don't want to do that. But I did see there's one with a boat tour that goes through it. That'd be kind of cool. It's somewhere in Pennsylvania. So yeah, that'd be a fun mystery to check out. And I couldn't know that, but yeah. So here's what we're gonna do. I want you guys to suggest some various underground sites that fascinate you. One of the ones that comes to mind immediately are the Paris catacombs, the hypogeum of Sans Serif. So yeah, that's wild stuff. So yeah, let me know about that stuff as we get towards the end of the show. And the tech they use now is also different. There's a lot of different tech out there to help do this stuff. So the question is, do you think some of these caves were used hidden hideouts? What do you think? I mean, if there's petroglyphs, obviously somebody put them there. So yeah, definitely interesting there. And we're going to move on to the next topic. I'm not going to throw up a poll for that one because I want to keep it moving. I'm going to get this out in the next 15 minutes. Next topic is temporal enigmas, time slip reports. In July of this year, a man claiming he experienced a time slip from 2025 to 1900 and landed in New York City. It was posted on July 17th by Time Traveler New York with a photo. He claims a 10-minute shift to 1900s Manhattan and then back to 2025. The photo shows old-style clothing, later questioned as staged. The thread gained 16,000 retweets, and it is tied to trends of time travel that have been heating up all over the internet. Every time I turn around, somebody's encountered a new time traveler. So, and they're always there's always negative stuff. It's never a good. So, yeah, never good time travelers who have nice things to say. There's been an analysis that shows there's been a 10% rise in stories of time anomalies on various web forums since May. Recorded on Paranormal Hub with 100 posts since May. July 2025 claim of a 1920s car sighting in Oregon. 60% of stories lack witnesses, however, per report data. The trend linked to 2025 sci-fi movie release dates. Forums then saw 5,000 new viewers in July. The 1970s Bermuda Triangle, time distortion, where people disappeared, has been re-examined, and in 1974, a pilot named Bruce Gernon noted that this was the Bermuda Triangle. There was a podcast called Time Lost, that aired back on the 15th. 20,000 listens regarding this topic. And there have been a link to magnetic studies in the area as well. It's been re-examined with now GPS current for 2025 and come up inconclusive. 25% of people, however, believe in time warps. But this could be psychological phenomenon or hoaxes, probably a lot of hoaxes. Deja vu is generally a trigger. Many of these claims involve stress-related hallucinations as well. So there are, of course, hoaxes and edited video. There's no physical evidence at all. And, there's going to be an effort to debunk this stuff as well. So, we'll see what happens. Here's another thing regarding cryptic artifacts. Not a rune-covered July, rather. There was discovery of a rune-colored metal object found in Sweden, dated to 1000 BC. It was found on a farm near Uppsala. 2-foot-long rod with 15 runes per web photos. Carbon dating is still pending. Is believed to be 1,000 years old. Um, it's linked to the Viking era mysteries by local historians. Now, there has been a 25% hike in artifact related posts in June on X and other social media sites, tracked by TrendWatch 2025, with 500 posts a day since June 1st. This includes a July 2025 claim of a Roman coin in Colorado. 40% of these posts feature unverified finds per analysis. The spike tied to 2025 treasure hunting apps. Engagement is up 30% on X in the artifacts thread. And in this same vein, you have stuff like the Vonage manuscript, undecipherable after all these years. A lot of people attempting to decode it, and we may never know, or we might have to wait till the 8th day. And I think at that point I might scream. So yeah, where are we at here? This manuscript, the Vonage manuscript rather, was dated to the 1400s. It's still undeciphered. There is a group called Vonage Code that claims a breakthrough has been made, but it's still improvement. In July of 2025, web articles cited 10 new decoding theories. It's linked to largely a 2025 interest in lost languages. So 15% of users on X seem to support a solution. But of course, this could be possible forgeries or misdated items for the reason they're not being there. Now, modern tools could forge runes, and 20% of 2025 finds are flagged as suspicious. Swedish rods, Patina, that's a shampoo. Patina has been questioned by the experts. Hoaxes include planted coins, detected 7% of the time. Verification over. Messed up my shoulder. It's all wrecked. Shoulder's all wrecked up in the shoulder. Okay. Oh yeah, an archaeology critic had this to weigh in on this stuff. The modern tools could forge runes. 20% of 2025 finds are flagged as suspicious. Swedish rod patina questioned by experts. Hoaxes include planted coins on X, detected 7% of the time. Verification has been delayed because of lab backlogs. Sometimes the product will ask you questions like, what fascinates you? Tell us live. Suggest a few things we can do here. Are these ancient relics? Are they fakes? What do you think? Let me know in the chat. So I think we just ran out of topics. Holy smokes, and past the bagel. I'm going to have a little bit of sausage, egg, and cheese. My favorite breakfast, by the way, is toasted bagel. I make them every day. I got a burger press now, so I put that ground sausage in there, get a good press. Good stuff. Anywho, that's going to do it for the topics. Let's get into the chat. We're going to do a little question and answer here for a few minutes, and then we're going to wrap it up. Looks like, we're going to do a 2-minute rage. So, let's see. What do we got to say? DJ Lewis, what's going on? Pete, I had an out-of-body experience watching myself having an out-of-body experience, watching the real me choke and almost dying. Freaky. Dude, let me tell you what, choking's no joke, and that's wild to experience that, DJ Lewis. The other day I was eating a sandwich, and I got something stuck in my throat, and I almost had a problem with the choking there. It was bad, but I was able to get it dislodged, thankfully. So, yeah. Let's see. Oh, Maurice says Mount Shasta. Yeah, Maurice, I like the Mount Shasta stuff a lot too. That's a great topic too. Thank you. Tina's talking about the underground tunnels in Peru. Yeah, there's underground tunnels all over the place. They got underground tunnels everywhere. So yeah, where else are we at here? Okay. Oh, feel free to think this is nice hair, bro. You look 15 years younger. Well, thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. Okay. Well, I think that's going to do it for tonight. Starting to get a little fuzzy around the edges, to be honest, and we are out of topics. Don't see any need in progressing on any further. I do want to thank you all for tuning in tonight. I want to thank everybody for super chats. Let me just scroll up, make sure there's anything pertinent I didn't miss. No, I think we got everything. All right, last chance for questions before we wrap up. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, let's go. So thank you everybody for tuning in. I really appreciate you all being here tonight. I want to thank Ginger Viking Jesus, Hides in the Long Grass, Maurice Span Gaming, and Frederick John, parentheses, go outside, for the generous super chats. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. It really helps, especially lately, because you know how it goes. So thank you. Appreciate you. Have a great night. We're going to do this again next Saturday. Expect a video in the middle of the week. I think we're finally going to get it done. I got 2 days off to do some filming. I've got a bunch of scripts ready to go. I'm going to back to back and then worry about editing them later. We're going to tear them down. Get back in the swing of things. So again, thanks for tuning in. Hope you all had a great time. Whoa, Marshmallow for $5. Love to everybody. Thank you, Marshmallow. Very kind of you. Love that name, by the way. Just such fun stuff. Marshmallow just evoke happiness to me. I follow this channel on here on YouTube. They actually are a marshmallow manufacturer down in like Australia or something, but they make crazy looking marshmallows. I wish I knew what they were called off the top of my head, but I'm sure you can find them very easily. So anyway, thank you for tuning in tonight. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you all. Have a great night. We'll be back next week. Don't hesitate to like, share, subscribe, follow, sing the praises of, arm wrestle in a movie, to get my son to love me again, kind of deal. Appreciate you. Oh, Ginger for another 5. Thank you, Ginger. Thank you very much. Much appreciation, dude. Thank you. That's going to be it for tonight. I'm a little hesitant to go because I'm having a good time getting a second win, but I better call it before I get really loopy. Anyway, have a great night. Thank you for tuning in. Much appreciation. Ginger with a doji, little doji dog. Thank you, Ginger. Please like, share, and subscribe. Tune in on Instagram every Saturday night and X as well. I'm glad this went so well. Thank you for being here. See you next week. And until next time, this has been Dark Sayings. I'm Pete. Until next time.